Zeus wasn't the original king of the Greek gods. 1,000 years before Homer, the tablets tell a different story, one where Poseidon ruled the Pantheon. The earth shook under his command, and the gods were nothing like the ones you know. For centuries, historians assumed the classic Greek gods simply appeared out of nowhere, sometime around 800 BC. Then, in the early 1900s, archaeologists digging through the ruins of Knossos on the island of Crete unearthed thousands of baked clay tablets. They were covered in a script nobody on Earth could read. Archaeologists called it Linear B. It took another 50 years to crack it. In the 1950s, an architect named Michael Ventris finally decoded the script. And what he found stunned everyone. These weren't myths or poems. They were administrative records, lists of grain, of sheep, of workers. But buried inside them were names. The names of Greek gods, written 500 years before the golden age of Greece. The catch? Their roles were flipped. Take Poseidon. Today, we know him as the blue-cloaked ruler of the oceans. On these tablets, though, he isn't a sea god at all. The sea belonged to older, stranger powers. Most linguists now read Poseidon's name as something closer to Lord of the Earth, a dark, chthonic deity. Chthonic simply meaning of the underworld. He ruled earthquakes, deep caverns, and the terror of the ground giving way beneath you. He didn't ride the waves, he shattered the ground beneath your feet. So how does a terrifying underworld monster turn into a majestic sea god? It took an apocalypse. Around 1200 BC, the entire eastern Mediterranean world collapsed, almost all at once. Historians still argue over exactly why. Drought, invasion, and internal revolt all likely played a part, but the results are clear. Cities burned. Trade routes disappeared. Palace bureaucracies that had kept Linear B records for generations simply vanished. Greece entered a genuine dark age, and for a few hundred years we have almost no written record at all. When Greek society finally re-emerged centuries later, it looked nothing like before. The old palace elite, the ones who'd worshipped the earth-shaking, cavern-dwelling Poseidon, were long gone. In their place were new, scattered, seafaring people. They depended on the Mediterranean for trade, for survival, for colonising new land. A terrifying god of the deep earth didn't serve them anymore. What they needed was a god who could protect a ship. So, at least, this is the leading theory among classicists. They rebuilt him. They took the raw, violent power of the old earthquake god, handed him a trident, and pushed him out to sea. Zeus followed a similar path. Originally, a local sky spirit, worshipped in scattered hilltop shrines, he absorbed storm god traditions arriving from the Near East until he was powerful enough to sit at the head of this newly reconstructed family of gods. But rebuilding their own gods wasn't the end of it. As the Greeks began sailing further across the Mediterranean, they ran into other civilizations, ones with gods that were older and in some cases far more powerful. And instead of competing with them, the Greeks did something simpler. They borrowed them. It started with a bloody, armoured Babylonian war goddess who washed up on a Greek island and quietly changed the Pantheon forever. Which leads me onto the topic of my next video, where I'll be talking about how the goddess Ishtar became Aphrodite. Click here to watch it.